Imagine a racing driver taking a corner at 280 kilometers per hour, faster than a car on a motorway, yet never losing grip, never sliding, never leaving the tarmac. It defies physics, doesn't it? But here's the thing. It's not magic, and it's not luck. There's an invisible force pinning that 798-kilogram machine to the ground with more pressure than a jumbo jet generates just standing still. Today, we're uncovering how modern aerodynamics transformed Formula One into the most cornering-hungry racing machine ever built. This invisible force we're talking about, it's called downforce, and it's completely changed the game of Formula One racing. 50 years ago, drivers were negotiating these same corners at half the speed, sometimes less. The difference? Modern cars generate downforce measured in tons. Think about what that means for strategy, for setup, for risk. A driver who can carry more speed through a corner gains time on every single lap. And over a season, that's the difference between a championship and second place. But downforce isn't free. The faster you go, the more drag you create, and drag costs you on the straights. It's a constant trade-off that separates the champions from the rest. And here's where it gets really interesting. The teams that understand aerodynamics best, that find new ways to generate grip without sacrificing speed, they win races, they win titles, and sometimes they change the sport forever. So let's dive into how engineers turned a simple racing car into an aircraft that refuses to fly. The secret starts with a principle that's been around for centuries, but Formula One flipped it on its head. When a regular airplane's wing cuts through the air, it creates lift. The wing curves in a way that makes the air pressure lower above it, higher below it, and boom, the plane goes up. Now imagine that same wing, but turned upside down, bolted to the bottom of a racing car. That's essentially what a modern F1 car is doing with its floor and its front and rear wings. They're all designed to do the opposite of a plane wing. Instead of pushing the car up into the sky, they're pushing it down into the track with enormous force. Let's visualize this for a moment. Picture the air flowing over and under the nose of an F1 car as it approaches a corner at 200 kilometers per hour. The front wing, those little flaps you see at the very front, they're not just for show. As the car moves, air rushes beneath those wings, and because of their angle and shape, the air pressure underneath drops significantly. Higher pressure air above pushes down, lower pressure air below pulls down, and suddenly that front end of the car is being sucked toward the asphalt with the force of several tons. The same thing happens at the rear, where a much larger wing generates even more of this downward force. But here's where it gets clever. The engineers didn't stop there. The entire floor of the car, the flat bit underneath that you rarely see on TV, it's been sculpted and engineered to accelerate the air flowing beneath it, creating more of that low-pressure zone. Modern F1 floors are masterpieces of fluid dynamics, with channels, slots, and diffusers that work in harmony to multiply the downforce effect. So now we have this racing car that's generating downforce equivalent to its own weight just from aerodynamics alone, sometimes even more. At maximum speed through a high-speed corner, a car and driver weighing just over 800 kilograms can feel the equivalent of 3 or 4 times that weight pushing them into their seat through the steering wheel and the pedals. That sounds painful, and honestly, it is. The forces are brutal, which is why drivers train like astronauts. But those forces are also the reason a modern F1 car can take a 250 km/h corner that would be absolutely impossible at slower speeds. The faster you go, the more downforce you generate. It's a beautiful physical relationship written into the shape of the car itself. And because of that downforce, the tires maintain perfect grip on the track. The car stays planted, and the driver can brake later and accelerate harder than anyone would think possible. This is what separates Formula One from every other form of motorsport. This invisible grip, this aerodynamic magic, it's the foundation of everything we're about to explore. To understand just how extraordinary this aerodynamic grip really is, we need to look at some of the most pivotal moments in Formula One history, moments where downforce didn't just help a driver win, it fundamentally changed the sport. Take the 1978 Swedish Grand Prix at Anderstorp, where Gilles Villeneuve in his Ferrari hit the track in wet conditions that would normally destroy any driver's confidence in cornering speed. But Villeneuve's car had been engineered with aggressive aerodynamic modifications, and he carved through those corners with an almost reckless confidence that left everyone watching stunned. What made that moment possible wasn't just raw talent. It was the fact that Villeneuve could trust the downforce his car was generating, even in spray and moisture, even at speeds that had never been attempted before in those conditions. Fast forward to 2016, to a completely different era of the sport, and watch Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes at the Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is the ultimate test of braking and cornering precision, where every hundredth of a second counts and the barriers are always waiting. Hamilton's advantage over his competitors that weekend came down to one thing. His team had engineered a car with such efficient downforce generation that he could brake later into turn 14, carry more speed through the Mirabeau, and exit corners with incredible traction. It was a masterclass in aerodynamic efficiency, translating directly into lap time. Then there's the 2019 German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, where Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari was finally caught in the rain after leading for most of the race. In those conditions, the aerodynamic advantage became even more critical. Vettel's car generated so much downforce that even as water pooled on the track, the tires could still bite. In the end, Vettel couldn't hold on, and that's exactly the point. When aerodynamic grip is working perfectly, the cars move like they're glued to the asphalt. But the moment something changes, a setup adjustment, a weather shift, tire degradation, that grip can evaporate and the driver is back to fighting the physics of the road. These aren't isolated moments of brilliance. They're proof that downforce doesn't just help Formula One cars go fast, it fundamentally rewrites what's possible on a racetrack. Now imagine, for a moment, what would happen if we simply removed the aerodynamic wings from a modern Formula One car. The front wing, the rear wing, all of it, and sent it onto a track at race pace. The driver would immediately lose hundreds of kilograms of downforce, and the car would transform from a precision instrument into something far more unstable and unpredictable. In a corner that normally calls for 280 kilometers per hour, that same car without wings might only manage 180 or 190 before the tires run out of grip and it slides toward the barrier. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even at lower speeds, the car would feel completely different. The steering response would change, the balance through the high-speed sweepers would be gone, and the driver would have to relearn how to even brake the car, because so much of the stopping power in modern F1 comes from the aerodynamic load pinning the tires to the asphalt. This thought experiment reveals something profound about modern racing. Downforce isn't just a bonus that makes cars faster. It's become the fundamental foundation of everything a Formula One driver can do. How they accelerate, how they brake, how they turn, and ultimately, how they survive at these extreme speeds. Without it, they wouldn't just be slower. They'd be operating in an entirely different world. So here's what we need to take away from all of this. Downforce is everything in modern Formula One. It's the invisible hand that pins a 798-kilogram car to the asphalt with the force of 3 or 4 times its own weight, allowing drivers to corner at speeds that would seem impossible just a few decades ago. 3 things to remember. First, the aerodynamic wings generate lift, but inverted, creating massive downward force. Second, this downforce multiplies what the tires can do, especially in braking and cornering. And third, without it, a modern F1 car simply wouldn't be the machine we know today. Now we've focused on downforce and wings, but there's a whole world of suspension, tire physics, and driver technique that works hand in hand with aerodynamics. What would you most like us to explore next time? Should we dive deep into how modern tire compounds work at these extreme loads? Or would you rather understand the suspension systems that allow drivers to actually control all that downforce? Let us know in the comments below, and please subscribe if you want more of this insider look at what makes Formula One the pinnacle of motorsport.